Is there truly
Ethan
no other
adjusted the
path
small
open to
panel
us?
on his
The
spacecraft
die it
prototype for the
cast,
10th
my
time
dearest.
that morning.
We must
The
face this
interstellar
together.
hub planet of Lyrian was alive with energy, a place where humans and aliens mingled in markets, laboratories, and spaceports. Metal walkways shimmered under the twin suns, and the scent of exotic spices mixed with the tang of machine oil. Ethan enjoyed the chaos in small doses. It reminded him that the universe was alive, full of possibilities he hadn't yet explored. He wiped sweat from his brow and glanced at the blueprint projected from his wrist device. Today's test was crucial. If the prototype passed, it could revolutionize travel between human colonies and alien worlds. Ethan's heart beat a little faster. He was not a diplomat nor a politician. He was an engineer. But in a city where humans were considered clever but somewhat unpredictable, he knew that today his skills would speak louder than words. From across the crowded plaza, someone was watching him. She moved with grace that seemed almost unnatural. Lyra, an alien of the Zarin species, observed Ethan with quiet fascination. Her skin shimmered with a soft silver hue that reflected the sunlight, and her eyes, a deep violet, studied his every motion. Humans were rare on Lyrian in positions of invention and leadership. Most were technicians, assistants, or explorers. Seeing one engage so confidently in public experimentation was unusual. Lyra had come to Lyrian to learn, to observe, and to make connections between her people and others in the galaxy. The Zarin valued intelligence above all else, but they also valued emotional insight, something humans carried in abundance. She had never felt such a strong curiosity, and perhaps more than curiosity, a pull she could not yet name. Ethan began his test. The spacecraft prototype, a compact vessel designed for rapid travel, hummed as energy flowed through its engines. He adjusted the field stabilizers and tapped a command on his wrist device. Immediately, the craft shivered violently. Sparks flew from a corner console. A low murmur ran through the observing crowd. "Not good," Ethan muttered. He crouched beside the machine, his hands moving over the panels, trying to locate the fault. He realized the problem was a minor one, a misaligned conduit, but it was enough to ruin the demonstration if not fixed quickly. Lyra stepped closer, unnoticed by the crowd, and tilted her head. She had observed many species attempting technical feats, but something about this human was different. He didn't panic. He didn't shout or demand instant assistance. He simply studied the problem, considering options with a calm, almost artistic patience. Minutes passed and Ethan made his adjustment. The sparks ceased. The vessel stabilized. He gave it another test. The prototype lifted gracefully, hovering in the plaza's open space. Cheers erupted from the assembled crowd. Some clapped for the technology, others for the human who had tamed it. Lyra smiled, a small, quiet movement that Ethan did not notice. She had never felt compelled to approach someone so quickly, but the pull was undeniable. And as the vessel landed safely, Ethan stepped back, wiping his hands, unaware that eyes full of wonder followed him. Later, when the crowd thinned, Lyra approached. Ethan was cleaning tools, his mind still running through adjustments he could make for the next iteration. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice carrying a musical cadence unusual to human ears. "I must ask, what must I do to marry you?" Ethan froze. His hands hovered over a panel as he blinked. I'm sorry." Lyra tilted her head, violet eyes meeting his. "I saw your work today. I saw your calm and your cleverness. I am curious about humans and about you. I wish to understand the possibility of union marriage. What must I do?" He laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know what to say. That's unexpected. I mean, I'm honored, but I think, well, humans don't usually do that, not with aliens." Lyra's expression remained calm, almost stern, but her eyes carried a hint of hope. "Then teach me. Show me the path. If I must follow customs, if I must prove myself, I will. I am willing." Ethan tried to gather his thoughts. He had read about interspecies relationships, the protocols, the potential misunderstandings. Most of the literature focused on diplomacy or cultural exchange. Marriage between a human and a Zarin was rare and complicated. But looking at Lyra, he saw sincerity, curiosity, and something he couldn't ignore, a challenge unlike any he had faced before. I suppose, he began cautiously, the first step is to understand each other. Learn about each other's worlds. That's what we would do. Lyra nodded. Then I shall begin immediately. The following days became a whirlwind of introductions, explanations, and shared discoveries. Ethan brought her to human habitats, explaining customs that humans often took for granted. The simplicity of a handshake, the subtlety of a smile, the excitement of sharing a meal. Lyra responded with questions, often challenging assumptions he hadn't considered. "Why do humans insist on eating every day?" she asked one afternoon as they shared a simple meal of bread and protein paste. "Do you not derive sustenance differently?" Ethan chuckled. "It's not just about sustenance. It's about taste, tradition, comfort. It's part of how we connect." Lyra considered this, her eyes distant as if pondering centuries of thought compressed into a simple human habit. Connection through sustenance. Fascinating. My people, we share energy directly, but I see the value in your ritual. As they continued to explore both human and Zarin cultures, Ethan noticed that his initial awe of Lyra's intelligence grew into admiration. Her patience, her perspective on life, her willingness to embrace a completely foreign world, it was inspiring. Humans prided themselves on ingenuity, but Lyra challenged his assumptions in ways he had never encountered. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting orange and violet hues across the city, Ethan found himself walking beside Lyra along a metallic promenade. Ships of all shapes and sizes passed overhead, leaving streaks of light across the sky. "Ethan," Lyra said, breaking a comfortable silence, "do humans always have such bold hearts?" Ethan laughed softly. "Some do, some are cautious, some are foolish. Depends on the day, I guess." Lyra looked at him, violet eyes reflecting the sunset. "I see a bold heart in you, one that seeks solutions, that adapts, that cares. It is attractive." Ethan felt heat rise to his cheeks. I didn't expect that." "Neither did I," Lyra admitted. "But it is undeniable." As night fell and the city lights sparkled like stars scattered across the planet, Ethan realized that his life had changed in ways he could not have anticipated. A simple test of a spacecraft had led to a meeting that challenged everything he knew about connection, culture, and the universe itself. In the coming days, Ethan would face questions he could not yet answer. Could he navigate an alien culture? Could he meet the expectations of someone from a species so different from his own? And most importantly, did he dare follow the path Lyra had so boldly proposed? For now, though, he walked beside her, sharing thoughts, laughing at small misunderstandings, and feeling the thrill of a universe suddenly full of possibilities he had never dared imagine. As Lyra looked up at him and smiled under the glow of Lyrian's twin moons, Ethan understood that this was only the beginning. And somewhere deep inside, he felt a spark of excitement, an understanding that whatever challenges awaited, the journey would be extraordinary. Ethan's shuttle hummed quietly as it left the Lyrian spaceport. Lyra sat beside him, her posture poised, hands folded in a way that suggested she was both calm and attentive. The view of space outside the window was breathtaking, the stars stretching in endless patterns, light streaking past as the shuttle accelerated. "This is beautiful," Ethan said softly, unable to keep his eyes from the display. "Even after all my travels, I never get used to this." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "I have seen many star systems, but they are always seen as maps, charts, or data points. You seem to see them differently." Ethan smiled. "Humans, we notice details. Sometimes the beauty, sometimes the patterns, sometimes just the feeling of being here. It's hard to explain." Lyra considered this and remained silent for a while, as if committing his words to memory. "Then I wish to learn," she said finally. "I wish to understand how you see, not just what you see." Ethan glanced at her. The violet eyes, bright against her shimmering silver skin, were full of curiosity and something he couldn't name. His pulse quickened slightly. He had faced dangerous situations in his life, technical failures, and even hostile environments, but nothing had prepared him for this level of connection. The shuttle began its descent into the Zarin homeworld, a planet of silver oceans and sprawling crystal forests. Cities of shining spires rose like mountains from the landscape, glowing softly as the atmosphere reflected the light of a distant star. Lyra guided him as they disembarked. "Welcome to my world," she said, her voice warm but formal. "This is where I grew up, where I was trained, and where you will meet the traditions that govern unions of our kind." Ethan followed, trying to hide his awe. He had read descriptions of alien cultures, of course, but nothing in the texts could prepare him for this. The architecture seemed alive, flowing with light and color as if the planet itself had been shaped to inspire awe. "You will meet my people soon," Lyra continued, "and they will test your understanding, your patience, and your respect for our customs. This is how we determine whether a bond between our species can succeed." Ethan swallowed nervously. "Tests," Lyra's smile was gentle. "Not tests to punish, tests to teach. If you are willing to learn, you will pass. If you are not, well, the path will be difficult." They entered the central hall of the Zarin capital. It was vast, with a ceiling that reflected the sky outside, crystal clear and infinite. Members of the Zarin Council stood in rows, their expressions unreadable. The air was quiet but charged with expectation. Ethan stepped forward cautiously. Lyra placed her hand lightly on his arm. "Do not fear," she whispered. "They will judge you, but they will also guide you. Show them your honesty, your heart, and your ingenuity. That is what matters most." The first trial began almost immediately. Ethan was presented with a puzzle, a complex system of energy conduits that required careful balancing to stabilize a small model of a Zarin habitat. At first, he struggled. The conduits reacted differently than any human machinery he had ever encountered. But as he studied the system, he began to notice patterns, subtle flows of energy that suggested solutions. Lyra watched him closely, silently offering subtle hints when he faltered. "Think not only of mechanics," she said once. "Think of purpose." Her words, simple as they seemed, shifted his perspective. He stopped trying to force the conduits to obey him and instead focused on the harmony of the system. Slowly, carefully, he adjusted the connections. The model stabilized, lights glowing evenly throughout. The council members murmured in approval. Ethan felt a rush of relief and pride. He had passed the first test, not by brute skill but by observing, adapting, and understanding. The next days brought more trials. He participated in discussions about ethics, debated solutions to hypothetical crises, and even learned to navigate Zarin social rituals. Each trial was challenging in ways he had not expected, but he discovered that his human qualities, empathy, curiosity, and flexibility, were exactly what the Zarin valued, even if in different forms. Lyra was constantly at his side, guiding without dominating. She explained concepts that were foreign to him and helped him translate Zarin ideas into human understanding. In turn, Ethan shared human perspectives, often surprising the council with solutions that combined logic with creativity in ways they had never seen. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling set of exercises, Ethan and Lyra walked along a crystal bridge overlooking the ocean. The water shimmered with colors that shifted with the light, and the air carried a faint, sweet scent of minerals and organic growth. "You have adapted quickly," Lyra said. "I did not expect this speed. Your species, it is resilient." Ethan laughed softly. "I guess humans have to be. We survive by figuring things out, by improvising when nothing seems to work. but I would not have done it without you. You guide me, but you also trust me to find my way. Lyra's eyes softened. Trust is rare among my people. You have earned it. They paused, watching a pod of Zarin glide across the ocean's surface, moving in perfect synchrony. Ethan felt a sense of calm, a connection to the world around him and to the alien who had brought him here. But challenges were not over. Some council members were skeptical of his presence, murmuring doubts about humans and whether they could truly honor Zarin customs. Ethan faced questions designed to probe his character, some subtle, some direct. "Why do you wish to join our culture?" one elder asked. "Do you seek advantage or do you seek understanding?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I seek understanding. I want to learn, to respect, and to build a bond with someone who has inspired me. If that means facing challenges, I will face them. I want to do this honestly, not for advantage, not for convenience, but because it feels right." The elder studied him, then nodded. "Your answer is sincere. That is more than many offer." Over time, Ethan and Lyra grew closer. Their conversations ranged from practical problem-solving to abstract discussions about philosophy, art, and the meaning of connection. Ethan discovered that Lyra valued curiosity as much as intelligence, and she found his humor, empathy, and creativity refreshing. They shared meals, studied the stars, and explored the forests that shimmered with bioluminescent life. One evening, as they walked beneath trees glowing softly in the twilight, Ethan asked, "Do you think this will work? Us, humans and Zarin?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting both the forest light and something deeper. "It will work if we are willing to learn from each other, if we are patient, honest, and brave. Our species are different, yes, but difference is not a barrier, it is an opportunity." Ethan nodded. "I want to try. I want to see how far we can go." She smiled. "Then we will continue together." Days passed, and the final trial approached. The council presented a real-world challenge. A sector of the Zarin city that had experienced energy instability, threatening both infrastructure and habitat. Ethan was tasked with designing a solution using both human technology and Zarin principles. It was the ultimate test of his skill, creativity, and understanding of the culture. Ethan worked tirelessly, studying maps, consulting Lyra, and experimenting with hybrid systems. Some moments were frustrating. Components failed, calculations needed adjustments, and some Zarin concepts challenged his instincts. But slowly, piece by piece, he crafted a solution that balanced efficiency, harmony, and safety. When the solution was presented to the council, there was a long, tense silence. Ethan held his breath as Lyra stood beside him, her presence a quiet reassurance. The council examined the plans, questioned his reasoning, and debated the merits of his approach. Finally, the head elder spoke. "This solution is unconventional. It blends two worlds in a way we had not imagined. Yet it is effective and it respects both human and Zarin principles. You have passed the trials." Relief washed over Ethan. He exhaled, a laugh escaping him in disbelief. Lyra's hand found his, squeezing it gently. "You have proven not just skill," she said, her voice soft. "You have proven heart, patience, and wisdom. And now the path is open for us should you wish to walk it together." Ethan looked at her, the trials, the learning, and the growing bond between them flashing through his mind. "I do," he said finally. "I want to walk it with you." Lyra's smile was radiant, her eyes reflecting the crystal forests and the stars beyond. "Then we will face the future together. And whatever challenges come, we shall overcome them, not because one of us is stronger, but because we are together." As the twin moons of the Zarin planet rose over the horizon, Ethan felt a sense of hope he had never known. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time, he understood that connection, understanding, and shared purpose could bridge even the widest gaps between worlds. And somewhere deep in his chest, he knew the next chapter of their story, one of recognition, celebration, and true union, was about to begin. The morning of the final ceremony arrived with a calm that contrasted sharply with the nervous excitement Ethan felt inside. The Zarin city shimmered in the early light, crystal spires reflecting the glow of the twin suns and casting patterns across the streets below. The air hummed softly with energy, a quiet reminder that this was a world alive in ways humans rarely experienced. Ethan adjusted his tunic carefully, trying to appear composed. Beside him, Lyra moved with her usual grace, her silver skin glinting softly in the sunlight. She had chosen a ceremonial garment that shimmered like water, elegant and simple, and her violet eyes held both excitement and solemnity. "Are you ready?" she asked quietly, turning to him. Ethan nodded, though he felt his stomach twist with nervousness. "I think so. I've studied, I've learned, and I've tried my best." Lyra smiled gently. "That is all anyone can ask. Remember, the council will not only judge skill, they will judge your heart, your intent, and your understanding. Show them that and you will succeed." The procession led them into the central hall, a vast chamber with ceilings that reflected the sky like a mirror. Representatives of multiple planets filled the hall, human and alien alike. The council stood at the far end, their expressions serious, as they awaited the final presentation. Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of expectation. He had faced trials before, but this felt different. This trial was not just about skill. It was about showing that humans and Zarin could work together, that differences could be bridged, and that his connection with Lyra was genuine. The head elder stepped forward. "Ethan of Earth," he said, his voice echoing softly in the chamber, "you have completed your preliminary trials. Now the final task awaits. You will design and implement a solution to stabilize energy distribution across the eastern sector of our city, using both human technology and Zarin principles. You have 3 hours." Ethan's mind raced. The models, maps, and schematics he had studied during his trials flooded back. He had a plan, but he knew it would require precision, creativity, and collaboration with Lyra. They moved to the designated area, a holographic projection of the sector glowing before them. Ethan studied it carefully. The energy conduits were unstable, fluctuating in ways that could damage both infrastructure and living habitats. "First," he said to Lyra, "we need to understand the flow. If we observe it together, we can find the points where human tech can strengthen it without disrupting your natural system." Lyra nodded, placing her hands over the holographic interface. Her fingers glowed faintly as she manipulated the projection, revealing subtle energy currents invisible to ordinary sensors. "The currents are delicate," she explained. "Too much interference and the balance will collapse, but with precision, it is possible." Ethan's heart beat faster. "Then let's start." They worked side by side, Ethan integrating stabilizers and monitoring systems, Lyra guiding him through the natural flow of Zarin energy. The process was intricate. One misstep could unravel hours of work. Yet as they collaborated, a rhythm developed. Ethan's human ingenuity complemented Lyra's understanding of her world perfectly. Time passed quickly. Ethan adjusted his designs in real time, learning from Lyra's observations, and she, in turn, adapted her guidance based on his innovations. When a minor fluctuation threatened to destabilize the sector, Ethan found a solution no Zarin had considered, a flexible energy buffer that could absorb surges and release them safely. Lyra's eyes widened. "You see things differently than we do. It is impressive." Ethan smiled, though sweat beaded his brow. "Different doesn't mean wrong. It just means maybe we can help each other." By the end of the allotted time, they had created a hybrid system that stabilized the sector, respected Zarin energy flows, and incorporated human technology seamlessly. Ethan stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. The council examined the results carefully. The head elder studied the holographic projection, then turned to the other members. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Finally, the elder spoke. This solution is extraordinary. It demonstrates skill, creativity, and understanding beyond what we expected from an outsider. You have proven that humans can adapt to Zarin ways without losing themselves, and that collaboration between our species is not only possible but fruitful. Ethan exhaled, feeling the tension drain from his shoulders. Lyra's hand found his, and she squeezed it gently. "You have passed," she whispered. The council then turned to a more formal matter. "Lyra of the Zarin," the head elder said, "you have brought this human among us, guided him, and allowed him to show his understanding. Do you declare your intent to form a union with him according to Zarin custom?" Lyra's violet eyes shone. "I do. I declare my intent, and I ask for his acceptance freely and willingly." Ethan's chest tightened. He had never felt so many eyes on him, so much expectation, yet he knew in his heart what he wanted. I accept," he said clearly, his voice steady despite the emotion he felt. "I wish to join my life with hers, not as a visitor or student but as a partner, equal and respectful of her world." A soft murmur of approval passed through the chamber. The council members nodded, and some even smiled, rare for the typically stoic Zarin. Lyra stepped closer, her hands gently resting on his shoulders. "Then it is done," she said softly. "We will walk the path together." The ceremony that followed was unlike anything Ethan had ever experienced. The chamber filled with soft, resonant music created by Zarin instruments, harmonizing with the energy of the crystal walls. Symbols representing unity, respect, and balance glowed along the floor as Lyra and Ethan moved through them, guided by tradition and ritual. Ethan felt a deep sense of awe. Every gesture, every word, and every shared glance carried meaning. The humans and Zarin in attendance observed the ceremony with quiet reverence. For Ethan, it was not only a personal milestone, it was a statement to the galaxy. Humans, often underestimated, could rise to challenges, understand alien ways, and form bonds that transcended culture and species. After the ritual concluded, the council addressed the gathering. "Let this union serve as an example of what is possible when understanding, patience, and cooperation guide action. Let it inspire humans, Zarin, and all other species to see the value in connection." Ethan glanced at Lyra. She looked radiant, her eyes sparkling with pride and affection. He realized in that moment that all the trials, doubts, and challenges had led to this, the creation of a bond that was both personal and symbolic, one that celebrated the best of human qualities. "Shall we explore the city?" he asked, feeling a sense of lightness and freedom he had not known in months. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but not just the city. We shall explore all worlds together. There is much to learn and much to share." As they walked through the streets, hand in hand, citizens and visitors alike looked on with curiosity and admiration. The unusual pair, a human and a Zarin, represented something larger than themselves. They were proof that hearts and minds, even from different worlds, could align in harmony. Ethan thought back to the first moment he had met Lyra when she had asked him the question that had seemed impossible. "What must I do to marry you?" At the time, he had been shocked, uncertain, and perhaps a little scared. Now he understood. The answer had never been simple, but it had been clear. Openness, effort, understanding, and courage were the true requirements. Lyra leaned into him as they walked. "I did not know what to expect from humans," she said softly. "But you have proven that our species can be allies, friends, and something more. I am grateful." Ethan smiled. "And I never imagined that I would find someone like you. You've taught me more than I ever expected, about your world, about patience, and about myself." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline city. The twin moons rose, bathing everything in soft light. Ethan felt a warmth that was more than physical. It was hope, trust, and excitement for the future. Together, they looked out over the city and the ocean beyond, knowing that challenges would come, as they always did. But for the first time, Ethan felt completely confident that whatever the universe threw at them, they could face it together. They had crossed the boundaries of worlds, cultures, and expectations. They had learned from one another and proved that connection, understanding, and ingenuity could overcome differences. And most importantly, they had chosen each other, freely and willingly, for the journey that lay ahead. As night fell and the stars above began to twinkle, Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries, adventures, and experiences they could explore together. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly at home, not just on a planet or among a people, but in the presence of someone who saw him, understood him, and walked beside him into the unknown. With a final squeeze of Lyra's hand, Ethan whispered, "Together." Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the moons. "Together," she echoed, and as they stepped forward into the future, side by side, the promise of new worlds, new knowledge, and unbreakable bonds shone brighter than any star in the sky.